Okay, so we're up to Siman Ayin Dalet, working through Hilchos Krias Shema. So this Siman is entitled Shelo Levarich K'She'Ivarav Roeh haerva. You're not allowed to say Krias Shema when a var of your limbs can see the haerva, the mokum haerva. So says the Machab in Sif Aleph, Hayayoshein Orim Betalisai. If a person is sleeping in a state of undress, he hasn't got any clothes on, Betalisai, that means in his blanket, so he's naked in bed. He should press the talis, which means the blanket, against his chest, because the problem is we don't want there to be a situation where libo, his chest, roeh haerva, sees the haerva, the mokum haerva, and that would be awesome. Im libo roeh ervas chavere, also even if he saw his friends haerva, that would also be awesome. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Hayayoshein Orim. HaMechaba Tofas Lashon HaGemara. The Mechaba is using the Lashon of the Gemara in Brachos Chaf Gimel Amud Beis. The Sham Shayach Hai Lishna. It uses that Lishna there in the Gemara. Aval B'inyanenu Hu Adin Kasha Yoshin B'Chalukai B'Loi Michnasayim. The same halacha would apply that if a person had a top on, but he was just undressed from the sort of the bottom half down, below michnasayim, without trousers. For gamkein and dinahochi, the same halacha would apply. To also b'divrei Torah, levarich shum bracha, but a person is also to in divrei Torah, or to make any bracha at sheyadbik b'yodov hakutones b'mokom halev, until he takes the cloth against his heart, or lematzo milibo, a bit lower than a heart, because there is a problem of libo roeh haerva, and therefore your heart shouldn't see the mokum haerva, the genital area, and to cover with a cloth or with a blanket or something just underneath your chest, so that you make a barrier. That's what you need to do. Tzorich lochitz pirush shteyad b'katalis al libo. It says in the Mishnah Berurah, you sort of press the talis against your heart. So there's a barrier between your heart and the haerva. But without that, you've got a problem. Maybe your leiv is covered with the talis. There's no barrier between the leiv and the haerva, and therefore there's that problem. So imagine you've got you're wearing a towel or something, and you could be that the towel is covering you, so you can't see the mokum haerva. But if libo roeh haerva, then that's a separate problem. Al libo, you press the blanket against your chest. Even if you do it just under your chest, so there's a barrier between the leiv and the haerva. Even if the leiv is exposed fully, that would be okay. So if it's just wearing, for example, swimming trunks, then that would be okay, because it's not libo roeh haerva, because there's a barrier between them. Says in the Mishnah Berurah Sif Katan Dalet, Mishum de libo, the haerva b're'iyah tali rachmana. When it comes to haerva, it is all to do with seeing it. K'dichsiv lo yireh b'cha haervas tova. You should not see haervas tova. And we find the expression of re'iyah belev, that the heart can actually see. My heart sees ra haerva chachma. Therefore, even if the leiv is mechusa bebeged lahafsik beino le'erva, that there is a barrier. Addition to all of that, the haerva has got to be covered. The imhi megula, and if it is covered, his skimu ha'ba'achrenim de also likros min Torah. Sorry, the imhi megula, and if it's exposed, if it's not covered, if the haerva is exposed, his skimu ha'ba'achrenim de also likros min Torah. The min Torah is forbidden to read, to say brachas or say Krias Shema. Even if he is covered in a blanket or something, a talis, gam al reishe ve'enov shelo yuchel liras haerva, that his eyes can't see the haerva. Nonetheless, if the haerva itself is exposed, that's the problem. Why? It shouldn't be seen on you. In other words, if it's exposed, then you've got a problem. It should be covered in a way that it shouldn't be seen even by other people. Fine. Therefore, if a person is standing unclothed in a house, and he pops his head out of the window, the Gemara talks about these cases, so that he cannot see his own haerva because his head is outside of the window. He still can't read. because at the end of the day, his haerva is exposed in the house, and therefore he would not be able to say Krias Shema in that situation. But if someone is sleeping Orem naked, but kilo is like a canopy. Imagine some sort of like a four-poster bed, but it comes to a point. The Gemara in Sukkah discusses these contraptions. So a guy is sleeping bekila she'ena gevaya, like a tent or something. She'ena gevaya asar tefachim. It's not 10 tefachim tall. V'haitzi roshei chutzela, and he puts his head out of the tent. V'gam chotzas be'ezeh dover lahavzik bein libo le'erva, and he also has some sort of barrier between the lave and the erva. Afal pi she'ervosa megula bekila, even though his erva is exposed in the killa. That's because the killer is less than 10 tefachim tall. It's as if he's got a blanket around him. You just treat this killer as a blanket. So it's just like a sort of a baggy blanket he's wearing around him. And it's not the same status as the house, because the house has got a din of a separate rishus. You can't call a house a covering. Al-Kain also, and therefore if he's in the house, even if his head is out of the window, that would be a problem if his haerva is not covered. V'chein, and so to him, tzoya b'bayis, if there is tzoya, excrements in the house, b'toich arba amas, within 4 amas of where he is, v'haitzi rosh chutz l'chaloin, also likras Krias Shema. He's not allowed to read Krias Shema. These halachas are quite relevant when you've got young children around, and diapers and nappies and things like that. To be aware of that. To Shadin and Rosh Basaruba, because we sort of connect, we throw the head after the majority of the body. That's the Magen Avram. V'rotzolema de also afilu ledas hamatir in lekamon b'simin ayin vav sifdalet ayin sham v'ayin prim megadim. V'im hichnis Rosh lecheder sheyesh sham tzoya. If he puts his head the other way around into a room where there is soya, he just looks through, or he puts his head through the door frame into a room where there is soya. Also, gamken lekula alma likreis, it will be forbidden to read. I'll call upon him at soya negedenov, because at the end of the day he can see the soya, and therefore he would not be able to read to say Krias Shema. Uladas harashba hamuva b'siman ayin tesif beis. Also afilu him oimed mebachutz neged haPesach. That would be also even if he's standing outside against the doorway, the frame, kivin shatzoya connected, because at the end of the day I can see through the entrance and I can see the tzoya ayin sham. Okay, roeh es haerva, we said. the Mechaber said that the problem is you cannot say, if you're sleeping in a state of undress, even though you're under a talus, if the lave can see the haerva, then it's a problem and you can't say Krias Shema. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Sif Cotton Hay, Ayin derech Chaim afilu b'di'evid im kara Krias Shema v'espalel choyzeh, that if he did it for some reason, he's in a state of undress, and he said, hey, I didn't say Krias Shema tonight, and he says Krias Shema, he's got to be choyzeh and he's got to say Krias Shema again. V'chein muchach me Pri Megadim and Siman Ayin Aleph Eish Lavrom Eis Hey. Oid muchach sham da Krias Shema choyzeh in bercheseh im karam b'rias libo le'erva. You got to say Krias Shema again if leiv roeh es haerva. Because that's how Chazal instituted how we say it. If you had a drink and you say shahakol, then it's a suffix whether you need to repeat that shahakol. Of the suffix brachas lahakol, and therefore we will always take the line suffix brachas lahakol, and therefore you don't repeat the bracha. B'chai adam klal gimel din lamed gimel v'nishmas adam klal daled mashma diyesh lahakol b'diavad gamin in tefillah b'david ha'asu da'isa urak midrabon and v'ayim behalachas in kuf behei v'efshe yesh litvis kvaselin in zeh v'unitzaref das Rashi Rabbeinu Shmaya talmidei hamuva b'toisvis. Okay. Roya ervas chaveru. So the Ramah adds that not only own erva, but even if you can see huadinim libo roya ervas chaveru. So for some reason, you're in the you're in a situation where your own chest is exposed and it's opposite the erva of somebody else. That is also a problem. The hainu she'ein hefsek bein libo leervas chaveru. Says Mishmur Kagoin Sheshneim Sheikhin Arumin, both of them are lying there undressed or miskasim betalis echod. They might be far away from each other. Their flesh is not touching, but they're seeing each other. He himself may be wearing, swimming trunks or whatever. But it's still a problem because his own liboy, his own lave is seeing the erva of his friend. I could go in sheshneim oimdim b'mayim, for example, they're both in water, in a river, in a pool. He may be wearing swimming trunks. That's also a problem. Also, because at the end of the day, his own heart can see. Okay, let's do base quickly. It's quite a quick one. Says the Mechaba, if someone is swimming naked in water, and he wants to drink, he should cover the beged underneath his heart. He should take the beged, put it underneath his chest as a barrier between his chest and his haerva. But dafka v'beged avol biyadayim lo have a kisa. But using your hands is not good enough. And so too, if you put your hand over your head as a kisu rosh to make a bracha, that's also a problem. If the water was cloudy, was dirty, that you can't see your limbs underneath through the water, then he's in the water, then that would be okay. As long as that doesn't smell bad. And if his lave is above the water, even if the water is clear, then that would be okay. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Cotton Zayin, Yechase bebeged Pirush, Tahamayim, Af al pi sheim stulim. Water, even though it's clear, Mikol Makom Mahani Kisyan le'inyan shelo yehi also machmas k'bi erva. It's considered a covering, that it's not considered your erva is exposed. Mikol Makom Mahani Kisyan le'inyan shelo yehi isa machmas k'bi erva. However, sorry, just missed. Yeah, Mikol Makom Mahani Kisyan is considered a covering in terms of that it's not also machmas k'bi erva, that your erva is exposed. But tonight, with condition, sheyotzi rosh chutz l'mayim, that your head is out of that rishus, is out of the water. V'lo yistakel be'erva, that you're not looking at the erva. Kiven dahamayim slulim v'nineris b'hamir ervosa, because otherwise the water is clear, and therefore if you're in the water and you can see, then that doesn't help you. But what's the issue? The issue is your head is out of the water, but your lave is under the water, and therefore is in the same rishus almost, can see the erva, so you've got a problem. So therefore you need some sort of separation. Because the lave is with the erva in the mayim. You should take some sort of material underneath your lave, so there should be a hefsek between the lave and the erva. If there's somebody wearing a t-shirt or something, then that would be okay. So long as it's a proper barrier against the lave and the erva. You can't say a bracha when your head is uncovered. But he said, that's not considered a kisui. Whether you cover your chest, or you take your hands and you sort of put them between the lave and the erva, that it doesn't work. Unless you sort of you're clutching your arms, because like we're going to say later on. Because flesh doesn't cover flesh, it's the same material. Now that's only your hands. So if you want to make a bracha and you haven't got a couple on, I can put my hand over your head, and that counts as a couple, but not over my own head. Lo mikri, this is going on the Ramah, because if a person uses your own hand, it's not considered kisurosh. The Shar Dvarim Shebekadusha, Va'ayin Lekel Siman Beis Lo Kamon Siman Sadi Aleph Mishnah Berurah. We said if the mayim is achurim, then that's okay. If it's cloudy, that's considered a barrier. However, says the Mishnah Berurah, Yud Aleph, V'imheim Slunin, but if it's clear, Oichrem Beraglov, if you were picturing you're in the river or something, then just move your feet around and that will cloudy up the water, and therefore it will be a good barrier. V'davka Bekarka Shaykh Zeh, that only works if you're on earthen ground. Avaloi Bekli, not if you're in a kli, for example, a mikveh or a bath or something like, or a swimming pool. She'ein by off of atit, there's no earth and dust at the bottom. Kein kosam magen avram. Avabar zarus simen kuf kaches kosav dafilu bereiches as atzmei begigis shaykh. It's shaykh to sort of move the water, agitate the water, and that would help. Reich and ras, as long as the water doesn't smell bad. Ayin le'el, lekaman simen pevov of Mishnah Berurah Sham. Rak lemala. So this is going on the Ramah, the end. V'im ein libo b'soich hamayim rak lemala min hamayim. If the chest is above the water level, even if the water is slulim, then it's shari. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Dahamayim mikri hefsek, because the water is considered the hefsek bein libo le'erva, v'yizoy gamkein she'enov yiu chutz l'mayim, your eyes are out of the water, v'lo yistakel be'erva. D'lo yodif me'erva ba'ashoshis, because it's no better than an erva ba'ashoshis, that means a pane of glass, ha'mavur b'simen ayin hey, sif hey da'osa. Okay, we'll leave it there.